Tortured Poets Department Long Pond studio sessions. This one's gonna hurt. These song choices, very deliberate if you ask me. Taylor Swift is being chaotic again. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Ali and today we got a lot of catching up to do. So today I'm diving deep into our 4 different variants for the Tortured Poets Department. I'm gonna sort of break down what each of these titles mean, represent, the lore, the context, and what you might be able to expect. In addition to that, Taylor and we are firmly in a mashup era and we need to discuss that. I'm gonna talk about what these pairings mean, what the ramifications are, and what might happen after April 19th. Now, you guys know I color coordinate my nails for every video, and this is not really poets appropriate, but I simply could not have white nails for like all of last month, this month, and next month. So use your imagination. Also, stay tuned to the end of this video. I'm going to share some of my personal hacks and tips that were a game changer for me at the Eras tour. I'll also share a little bit about my costume because I just loved it so much. So stick around for that. It is about to be exactly 1 year since the tour began, which, side note, is so insane. Like, I really feel like it was just yesterday I was making my video with like predictions for what I thought the tour and setlist was going to be. Could we get a tour album in honor of that anniversary? We now know that Taylor Nation, or Taylor herself, has high quality recordings of each show. I personally don't think they would waste the opportunity to not record and release these songs, and I truly hope so. The Speak Now tour album, live album, is one of my all-time favorites, so to have that for Eras, especially if we include all of the acoustic songs, that would be a dream. I need to be able to pick up my phone and be able to listen to this version of Evermore. I'm always up being
the way she sings that song, it just takes me to another place.
Speaking of surprise songs, sometimes Taylor will play a song and I'll be like, wait, you know about this? I know she wrote it, but there's just something that I'm like, oh, I just thought you would have forgotten about this. I do think we have to pay close attention to the things that Taylor is saying to us at, you know, at these concerts, especially since she knows we're all watching. She's not just speaking to those within the stadium, like we're all sitting at home listening. One thing I really noticed at my show was how much she talked about being so grateful that we have let her explore different things and like new sounds.
It's fun when I get a chance to challenge myself and to make something different, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that, because every time I challenge myself and make something new and different, like what happened with 1989, for example, or you know, making a pop album for the first time, or making Reputation, whatever that is, you guys accepted. You were like, yes. You really could, every time I switch it up, you could be like, no, make the same thing. We liked the same thing. And instead you're like, no, go for it, go crazy. Like, you know. Which is great. I accept the challenge. I appreciate the belief you have in me when I switch lanes, because it's what keeps it fun for me, honestly.
To me, saying that, hey, just a reminder, you guys have been so great. You know, every time I've changed genres or done something really new, thank you for that. Feels like a way of setting us up to be like, by the way, I've done that again. So once again, this begs the question, could the Tortured Poets Department be a complete departure from all of her previous sounds? Could this be something totally different? You know, we've seen people saying this is going to be the third Folkmore sister, or this is Midnight's 2.0. Again, I think this is something totally brand new. I really feel like something else is going to happen this month. I know Taylor has a few shows coming up, but then she has 2 months off, and I don't know, my Swiftie senses are tingling. So if anyone has any thoughts or predictions on what will be happening over the next couple of months, whether that is poets related, music video, promotion, or could it be something totally different? So before I break down our 4 different album variants, I just want to say something to you all, and that is that it is perfectly okay. It is Mr. Perfectly Fine if you don't buy them. By that I mean, I just don't want anyone to feel bad if they are seeing people buy bunches of vinyls and all the different kinds and collecting them all on social media, and you can't afford to do that. Because vinyls are so stinking expensive. They are great, they are beautiful and so fun, but you also don't need to have it, and it's okay if you don't buy it. I think the idea of variants is super fun. You know, you can pick your favorite, which image appeals to you the most. I obviously love this one. You know, you could pick which song is your favorite and buy that, or if you're a collector, you can collect them all. But there is no like right way or correct direct way that you have to be a fan to support Taylor. Even if you are streaming her albums, as long as they're Taylor's versions, you are supporting her. Buy the variants, buy all of them, buy some of them, buy none of them. It's all okay. This is just your reminder that you don't have to. It is okay to just listen on streaming. Now, before we get started, my bosses at YouTube tell me that almost half of you that watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you would like to fix that, you can subscribe down below. You can also give this video a like. We're obviously trying to hit 1 million by the Tortured Poets Department release next month, so make sure you join down below. All right, so all of that said, let's get into discussing our variants and the accompanying bonus tracks. So a quick little refresher. First up, we have the Manuscript. This is of course the song that comes on the standard album. I don't know if this version will be seen as like the standard album, but since it is the one that she first showed us on like announcement day, I'm considering it that. Then we have the Bolter and the Albatross, and finally the Black Dog. Okay, so let's talk about the Manuscript. Firstly, the words or potential lyrics given alongside of this are "I love you, it's ruining my life." Definitely reminded me of "I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard," of course, from Cruel Summer. And to me, that kind of represents the flip side of "you're losing me." You could be reflecting on your relationship and connection with this person and knowing that it's not right for you, knowing that you probably should leave, but feeling unable to break that connection because of how deep your love is for them. Now, I also believe that the acoustic songs Taylor played after announcing these variants is very important. And I think they can provide a great role in giving us context clues for what these songs might be about. So we know that Taylor had kind of initially planned to announce Tortured Poets Department in Tokyo on the first night of the 2024 leg of the Eras tour.
Going to the Grammys, going in, I had this plan in my head, and I'd like told my friends. I thought, okay, so if I'm lucky enough to get up there and win one thing tonight, I'm just gonna do it.
It's called the Tortured Poets Department.
And luckily enough, that ended up happening. My backup plan was I was going to do it tonight in Tokyo.
So sorry, Tokyo Night 1, that you kind of missed out on that, but you did get my favorite song, so it's okay. So let's say Taylor didn't win any Grammys, which we will need to talk about in another video because I feel like no one is talking about the fact that Taylor is the first artist in history to win Album of the Year 4 times. It's fine, we'll get to that in another video. So in this reality, Taylor doesn't win any Grammys, goes ahead with her plan and announces it in Tokyo Night 1. The song that she would have sang to follow this announcement up was Dear Reader, a song that directly addresses us, the consumers of her words, and a manuscript being something that contains her words. Now, since we knew about all of this from the initial release day, I obviously talked about it in my previous 2 videos, so I won't keep harping on about that. I will leave that video linked below in case you missed them. The second variant announcement we had, or I guess first variant announcement, but second version, was the Bolter. And this was at my show, which is insane to me. I'm sorry if it feels like I'm too excited about this, but like to witness a Taylor announcement live in person after only watching them on TikTok felt surreal. I mean, you guys saw the vlog, you saw how I reacted. That was utter disbelief. So that was of course the live unveiling of the first ever Tortured Poets Department variant. Now, a quick bit of backstory before I dive into what the Bolter means. As I mentioned in, I think it was my previous video on the Tortured Poets Department, the track list had evidently been leaked on TikTok, which I didn't know until after Taylor announced it herself. And I think that is why Taylor announced it so quickly and kind of matter-of-factly, just like she did with Speak Now, because people had fully leaked the track list. I'm still not over it. It's super annoying, and I can't even imagine as an artist how frustrating that would be, but I digress. Anyway, so as I mentioned, I steer clear of leaks and hadn't seen anything until afterwards, but once I did see like a picture of the leak, I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's a song on there that isn't actually on the official track list called the Bolter. So when I saw that, I thought, okay, maybe this is like an outdated version that Taylor had once come up with a long time ago and ended up scrapping that song. Or maybe even she added it purposefully to be able to identify if there were a leak, sort of who it came from. You know, you can add different bits of information when you share it with different people, and that way you know if anything gets out, you can kind of trace the source back. So honestly, I was assuming and kind of hoping for Taylor's sake that that was true, that it was just kind of this fake thing that would help her identify the leaks. But lo and behold, it was very much real. Side note, and you probably saw this in my vlog, but at Melbourne Night 1, when Taylor was talking about the Bolter, it really seemed like she was about to play that song. And I was like, what the hell? You can't just debut a song in front of us. But then I was like, well, she kind of did that in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I was scared. So the Bolter. Initially, this came across to me as someone who bolts. They are a bolter. To bolt meaning like to run, to flee, as in someone maybe couldn't commit and ran out on a relationship. Now this could be Taylor referring to herself, reflecting on sort of a getaway car situation situation, or this could be Taylor speaking about someone else. In the little merch bundle with the CDs and whatnot, we get patches for each bonus song, and for this variant, the bolter is represented by a rabbit or a hare, but specifically one that is mid-leap. It is taking off somewhere, it is bolting. Also super interesting, someone posted an excerpt from a Princess Diana biography, and it says, "It was then that the myth of the bolter was born, that Frances had left her husband and deserted her 4 children for the love of another man." Obviously that could be nothing, but it is interesting. I will also mention there is a bar in London named the Bolter, so this could also obviously have significance. People had speculated that Taylor and Joe had their first date there, but I don't think that bar opened until more recently, so I don't know if that's true. It could still be, I don't know, people renovate, people reopen, but I can't confirm that one. So before Taylor unveiled this to us, she spoke a lot about how the Tortured Poets Department is an album that more than any other one she needed to write, and I feel like a lot of her albums she's needed to write, so this one even more so. This one really takes the cake, obviously. We know that writing these songs got her through a certain period in her life and will be a lot more autobiographical than things like Folklore or Evermore, and a lot more current and present day than Midnights, which was depicted as a, you know, sort of walk down memory lane, although obviously had some current feelings too. But this album, I think, is everything she was experiencing in that moment. She was writing it then, just maybe not yet ready to share, and now she is. So after sharing all of this with us, Taylor then chose a very deliberate song to play on piano. I'm sure you all know what it was. For the first time in history, live, You're Losing Me. Oh my god, once again, I just have to apologize one more time for getting to hear that live, because it was truly such an honor. And I truly believe this, along with maybe Tolerate It and My Tears Ricochet, to be Taylor's saddest song she's ever written. So if the songs that Taylor plays after the alternative variant announcements is any indication of what they might be, this one's gonna hurt. And you know, I think we can deduce a lot from that, because obviously we know, thanks to Jack, that You're Losing Me was written in December of 2021, and Taylor would have begun to write Tortured Poets Department just a few months later. I think Taylor mentioned quite recently, and now this also feels like a deliberate sharing of a timeline, that with albums you have to turn them in basically about 6 months ahead of release, because things need to be mastered and pressed and vinyls need to be made. Just keep that timeline in mind. You know, that period of early 2022, Midnights would have been starting to wrap up the writing, and I think Taylor just kept going. Similarly to when she finished writing for Folklore and couldn't stop, so we ended up with Evermore. I think Taylor is just like a well that is constantly overflowing with emotions, words, ideas, art. Gosh, are we lucky to experience that. And I, for one, would love for Taylor to share more about that timeline one day. I think Tortured Poets Department Long Pond studio sessions would be perfect. So all of that to say, the other song that Taylor played for us that night was Red. And that might seem like a really random pairing, Red and You're Losing Me, but you might remember from my previous 2 videos on the Tortured Poets Department, I've been saying that I don't think Poets is going to be Folklore 2.0. I think if anything, it would more closely resemble Red. Like lyrically maybe, yes, it will have the depth and like poetry of Folklore, but thematically, I think it's gonna be Red. So is playing the title track at the same show she's talked about this new album and revealed the bolter and You're Losing Me confirmation of that, or a hint at least? Also for me personally, the weekend opened with her singing Loving Him Was Red, and then ended the weekend with her singing I Once Believed Love Would Be Burning Red, but It's Golden. I know I go on about like some things are just coincidences and we shouldn't read too much into it, but these song choices, very deliberate if you ask me. Also, the Australian shows opened with Red and ended with Maroon. You simply cannot convince me that that was just by accident. Okay, the next variant we need to discuss is the albatross, whose accompanied words are, am I allowed to cry? Oh my god. I'm not sure about you guys, but this instantly made me think of I vow not to cry anymore if we survived the Great War. Is she now asking this because they didn't? Okay, so what the hell is an albatross? If you're like me, you've probably heard of them, but not that much in daily conversation. Don't really spend that much time thinking about them, and now are doing so. And that is one thing I love about Taylor Swift, always giving me something new to learn about, whether it is the word mame or a large seabird. We are forever learning. So thank you, Taylor. I truly believe you are increasing literacy rates and we need it, so thank you. So an albatross, not to be mistaken with a seagull because they do somewhat look similar, is a large seabird that, funnily enough, spends its first 6 years of life flying above the ocean without landing. That again could be a coincidence, but there are similarities we can draw from this 6-year period where you are, you know, soaring flying, consumed by a happiness or a purpose, and then after 6 years, touching back down on ground. Apparently its wingspan is 11 feet. We could take that into consideration given this is TS11, her 11th album. And apparently they can fly for 13 months at a time. Okay, this has nothing to do with Taylor, but I just learned a really fun fact about albatrosses and I wanted to share them. Flight recordings have shown that albatrosses are capable of flying 10,000 miles in a single journey and circumnavigate the Earth in 46 days. That is insane. Good for you, albatrosses. Now, there is also a poem.
A poem? How sweet. What poem would that be?
By Charles Baudelaire called, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna butcher this name, L'Albatros. L'Albatross. I cannot do a French accent, I'm so sorry. I tried my best. And I deeply apologize to any of my French subscribers who I may have offended. Please correct my pronunciation in the comments. But this poem describes a large albatross that is known to be majestic in the air and clumsy on land. It is like hunted and caught for sport and mocked for its large wing, which to me very much mirrored themes that we see in like Anti-Hero, too big to hang out, slowly lurching toward your favorite city, is through the heart but never killed. Like even songs like I Know Places or Peace, where Taylor just feels like she is not a human, will never know a regular day in her life and is constantly kind of being hunted for sport, feeling like she's not a real human being, which is sadly how I do think a lot of people view her. I mean that both in a good way and bad way. Like people idolize her or vilify her as if she's not a complex human being like all of us that has, you know, emotions and regrets and messy moments, but also compassion and love. Interestingly, the last stanza in this poem compares the poet to an albatross, like an artist struggling to fit in with society, alienated, isolated, and misunderstood, which once again just brings back imagery from the Anti-Hero music video and the video of Taylor explaining how she feels.
Track 3, Anti-Hero, is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. I really don't think I've delved this far into my insecurities in this detail before. You know, I struggle a lot with the idea that, you know, my life has become unmanageably sized and that I, you know, not to sound too dark, but like I just struggle with the idea of like not feeling like a person.
So all of this said, this song, if we're taking that theme as the approach, could be a metaphor for Taylor being in the public eye and being sort of idolized or vilified, yet dehumanized. Now, another incredibly interesting piece of history to note here is that in 1903, and I will just pause for you to note that 1903 equals 13, because of course it does, there was a famous fire at the Albatross Hotel in Coney Island. The fire was allegedly started by one of the hotel's employees due to unrequited love, and this burned down the entire Bowery. Once again, learning so much. This is a very fascinating part of Coney Island history that I never would have thought to know about. And now let's think about what song Taylor played after announcing the Albatross. That's right, Coney Island. I rest my case. This is why I don't believe that these can be coincidences. We could overlook the addition of Whitehorse because this was like Sabrina's request to sing with Taylor, so there might have been something else entirely planned had the weather not required show changes and Sabrina ending up singing with Taylor. By the way, so blessed any of you that got to witness that. That felt like, honestly, witnessing history. The biggest pop star, you know, of our generation singing with what I would call the next big thing. That was a really beautiful sisterhood moment. But if we are to examine Whitehorse under that same lens, I would say that this gives us a sort of empowering element, or maybe a moment of independence, you know, whether someone is apologizing or not. She's saying, I can do it on my own. So while I do think there will be a lot of grief and loss explored in this album, I think there will be a lot more than that. Ultimately, I think the core of it will be Taylor finding her way back to herself. And finally, that brings us to last night where Taylor announced the Black Dog. Now, when I was watching this on the live stream, it was so small, I thought it said the Black Day, so I totally went down a different avenue. I think we all know what the Black Dog represents.
You have the Grim, taking form of a giant spectral dog. It's among the darkest omens in our world. It's an omen of death.
So in case you didn't know, the black dog is a metaphor or representation of depression. Here in Australia, we actually have the Black Dog Institute, so I know any Australians recognize that immediately, and it's funny that their symbol is literally this, which is chaotically what Taylor has been doing all month. So yeah, people would say, I've got the black dog following me, like it's something you can't get off your back. Personally, I did just immediately think of Sirius Black and also the Grim. So while it does represent depression, and that is thematically what I think this song will be about, you can also look at it as it being an omen, like a dark about omen. And that is kind of used in that Harry Potter element, like the grim being an omen of death. The black dog kind of can represent that danger or impending doom. This website says the black dog is a creature of contradiction. Stories variously describing it as a malevolent or menacing presence, as an associate of witchcraft, satanic goings-on, or the afterlife, as Satan himself, as a terrifying hellish beast that can burn and kill. In a lot of these folklore stories, it can be considered an omen of death. If you see the black dog, something bad is going to happen to you. This is really interesting. It says a black dog is said to haunt Ivelet Bridge near Ivelet in Swaledale, Yorkshire. I know I pronounced that wrong. The dog is allegedly headless and leaps over the side of the bridge into water, although it can be heard barking at night. It is considered a death omen, and reports claim that anybody who has seen it died within the year. Interesting. I personally think that this will be about depression and grief and Taylor's experience through that. I know I'm not alone in having experienced depression and really tough mental health times, so I know this song will be really meaningful to a lot of you as well. I am very excited and terrified to hear it, I'll be honest. But on the bright side, we now know finally what all those paw prints were about on Taylor Nation stories. We thought they were cats, which was a safe bet, but they were in fact a dog. So after announcing the black dog, Taylor of course played Clean and Evermore, which, I mean, lethal combination of songs. That is incredible. Congratulations, Singapore Night 2. It is also interesting to note that each of these announcements have been at the first nights. Again, like Tokyo was going to be night 1, Melbourne night 1, Sydney night 1, Singapore night 2. Do we think it was scheduled for the night before but something happened? Or was that deliberate? Because then we have the 112 number which was floating around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So Clean and Evermore, both songs about overcoming something. That dark, stormy weather, those heavy clouds.
And the sky turned black like a perfect storm. Gray November, I've been down since July.
Like Eeyore, these are all metaphors for depression and struggling, for being Mr. Struggle. But ultimately, both of these songs end with hope and healing from this. Evermore also, funnily enough, has the lyric, violence of the dog days.
Oh, the violence of the dog days.
Singing that after announcing the black dog is crazy, and I haven't seen anyone talking about this, but Dog Days actually makes me think of Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine, who is on the Tortured Poets department. It's all linking back. It's an invisible string. So personally, I don't think this song will be about Joe, or at least as much as people are speculating it to be. I think a lot of this album won't be as much about Joe as people think. Obviously, there is an experience that Taylor went through that will largely define a lot of what she'll write about, but not all of it. I got a lot of replies saying that the 10 months sober from Clean is really key because that's how long it's been since the breakup was announced. And like, whilst that is true, I don't know if that's kind of the meaning that Taylor was hoping for us to take from this. I think this song will be a more personal account of her own mental health struggles rather than relating to their relationship timeline. And again, a lot of us are assuming that this album will be emotionally devastating, which it probably will be. But I do just think that there will also be an upside of some hope in there as well. Again, I keep going back to this, but like Red, it contains emotional multitudes. What's the word they called it? It was not sonically cohesive, but it was also not emotionally cohesive. And I love that about Red. It has something for every stage of what you're going through. Like, yes, we have All Too Well, and yes, we have Sad, Beautiful, Tragic, and Better Man, but we also have Holy Ground and Begin Again, and Everything Has Changed. Yeah, once again, I'm just so excited for this album. I think she's gonna really take us on an emotional journey. You know, I think she's gonna go through the ringer, but by the end, pick herself back up again and pick us up with her, because Lord knows we'll need it by the end of this album. So our note for the back of this album is Old Habits Die Screaming. Obviously, this is a play on Old Habits Die Hard, just meaning like it's really, really challenging to break the habits that we form. This takes it a step further. Like, I'm gonna go kicking and screaming with these habits. It reminded me of two lyrics, the first being I wake up screaming from dreaming from Anti-Hero, and the water filled my lungs, I screamed so loud but no one heard a thing from Clean. Now, I know there is the 5 stages of grief theory. I've been seeing it in all my comments. I see it on Twitter, and like, I understand the notion of it. However, Taylor has confirmed these are the only 4 variants, then there won't be 5, so we don't have enough for the 5 stages. I see people saying that Midnights could be that first stage, or Rep could be that final stage. My personal take is that this album is its own entity, and I'm not viewing it as connected to those things because I think it should stand alone and, you know, speak for itself. I also just, I have to laugh because this one mock-up that I saw of it, I'm not laughing at the person who made this, but instead of the stage being anger, it said angry. And I don't know why, that just killed me. So God bless whoever made that. Let me know what you guys think about the whole 5 stages of brief thing, because I mean, it's definitely possible. We do have the color gradients changing through our variants, but there's only 4 of them. So what do you think? Okay, now let's talk about the surprise songs and mashups. And let's most importantly begin by talking about how in my 1989 TV reaction video, upon hearing Is It Over Now, I said, wow, this would really mash up well with I Wish You Would.
Is it over now?
Doesn't that just fit so well? And what did Taylor then do when she came to Australia? It's also insane that they've started recording, or at least sharing with us, these professional recordings of the acoustic set. Again, this tells me there is hope yet for a live album. I'll always be waiting for that. Okay, so something very important to note. Taylor sang 24 acoustic surprise songs in Australia, which is insane when you think about it, because we just had 3 shows in Melbourne and 4 in Sydney. Out of all of these 24 songs, only 1 of them was from Speak Now. What number was that amongst all of these? If you said 13, you're wrong. It was 19, of course. Shout out to the girl on Twitter that pointed this out, because it blew my mind. So probably my personal favorite mashup was, unsurprisingly, Would've, Could've, Should've and Ivy. Both songs about how deeply someone has impacted you. I think third song that could have fit within that is You All Over Me. You know, your ivy grows and now I'm covered in you. All of Would've, Could've, Should've just being about regret and not being able to move on. You know, memories feel like weapons. The tomb won't close. The wound won't close. So I tweeted about this, but I mean, I think she's challenging herself creatively with these. I would love to see her do a mashup where like the lyrics kind of intersect. I'm not gonna sing this, but like, scratches down your back now, so it goes, he can't keep his wild eyes on the road. We were built to fall apart, then fall back together. We were built to fall apart, we broke the status quo, then broke each other's hearts. This love left a permanent mark, just like the one you knew you were making. I'll be 87, you'll be 89. I'll still look at you like the stars that shine in the sky. Oh my heart, my hips, my body, my love. This is a really fun game. I highly recommend you guys thinking of some and let me know yours in the comments, because if Taylor does some, we'll have proof that you came up with it. I'm just so excited by this mashup era that we're in. Once again, like I've said, I think Taylor is having a lot of fun creatively challenging herself, and I'm astounded by her brain every night. Not only the ability to pick these songs that go so well together, but like recall them at the exact moment that she needs to switch her mind. Okay, so before I head off, I just want to share with you guys some pro tips for the Eras tour, because I have now finally attended, and also show you my outfit. So in case you didn't see the millions of photos and videos that I posted on Instagram, I wore the most beautiful Midnight's bodysuit. Is it my fault that Taylor has not worn this version since I did? Maybe. I don't know, maybe she got intimidated or something, but I'm just still so obsessed with this. Again, you can see better photos on my Instagram, but I wish you could see what happens when the light hits this. It is just so stunning. So I will link below the creator who made this, because it is just the most beautiful thing I've ever owned. I get so many messages about selling it or renting it. I'm like, this will never go on anyone else's body, I'm sorry. Like, I will wear this on my wedding day. Bury me in this outfit. Please look at this beautiful detailing, and the back, oh my gosh. We intentionally left a little bit of room here for stretch, and I have a little bit of a big rib cage, so I ended up not being able to get the zipper, but I got a bit creative. Instead of just having the back like wide open, I added a little corset. I don't know if you can see that, but I found sort of a matching ribbon, and because it didn't need to be functional, it just needed to look cute, I just kind of did a little thing there. I honestly think it looks cute. I know it doesn't match Taylor's, but it was a vibe to me. I wish I could wear this every single day. And then for the other night that I attended, I wore like the Speak Now tour purple dress. I initially put it on and didn't feel cute at all, didn't want to wear it, but I realized it was because I'm on the shorter side, especially compared to Taylor. I'm 5'5", which so many of you said to me when we met at Eras. My friend Jess, who you all know because beautiful Lily, her daughter, got the 22 hat. Jess was like, oh my god, like you give off such tall girl energy, but you're so short in person. Anyway, so I felt kind of like, I don't know, just not cute in that dress. It made me feel short. I ended up cutting it and like making it shorter, and I felt so much cuter. So here's a reminder to you that you can alter and change and fix things, and as long as you feel comfy, that's all that matters. Okay, I think my main hack is tights. I know a lot of you will be wearing tights already. That's kind of like a given. Tights and like stockings give you a real put together look, and just like, I don't know, when I tried the outfit on with tights, it just stepped everything up. It elevated the whole look, especially if you get a really shiny pair like Taylor has, and that's what I did. It just ties everything together, you know? and tied together with a stocking. However, my tip is that I think is a massive game changer. Don't get the full-footed tights. Get the stirrup kind, because especially if you're gonna wear tights and then fishnets like Taylor does, or socks like I do because I need to be comfy, your toes are gonna be like so compressed tight, all of these layers of like very, very tight material. So instead, get the kind that don't go anywhere near your toes and you'll be so much more comfortable. Like I truly danced my butt off and walked to and from the venue and like felt amazing the whole time. Get those kind of tights. I will link the exact pair below that I wore. Couldn't recommend them enough. As Taylor Swift so often does, let those toes be free. The other thing that really helped, packing snacks. You guys saw in my vlog, I was like eating a Cliff Bar in between eras. Definitely water, obviously. I think sipping in between each set helps a lot. And having your game plan, like knowing how you're getting home afterwards, just takes all of the stress out of it. If you guys are going to the Eras tour this year and have any questions for me, pop them below and I will happily answer any of them. I know that big concerts like this can be stressful, so feeling prepared really helps. You know when you have an exam and you've been studying for weeks and weeks and weeks and you feel like you really, really know the material, and so you go into that exam being like, I'm so confident, I'm not stressed because I know everything I need to know. That's how I felt at the Eras tour, because I just had everything I needed. I really hope you guys do feel like that in exams, at least sometimes, because you deserve to not feel stressed. I know most people took bags like this. This is mine from Harry. It still has my little Harry memento on there. I didn't end up needing this because Melbourne's policy was that we didn't need a clear bag. So I took my Uniqlo shoulder bag and that was honestly perfect. It holds so much. You know, I had lip balm, mints, what else did I have? Magnesium roll-on if I got stressed, my little camera, my phone. I think I had sunscreen. Didn't really need it though. Oh, also the ear protectors that I use, loops, they were incredible. Absolute game changer. I didn't wear them for the first, but I wore them for the second. And as you guys know from the vlog, after my first show, hungover as hell, felt awful. My body was just like not good. Whereas after the second show, I felt great. I think 90% of that is thanks to loops. So I'll link them below. The variant that I used was called Experience. They're designed for concerts. I know there's an Experience Pro as well, but I haven't tried those. If you don't want to buy those, I think you can just use like foam earplugs, but I don't believe they like filter the sound as well. So you might not get to hear the concert as well and then be more likely to take them out. Once again, I can't speak on that, but I think if you're in a pinch, wear them. Apparently it only takes 5 minutes of loud music to permanently damage your ears. And as someone that loves music, I don't want that to happen. So protect yourself, kids. Well, it has been a joy talking to you beautiful humans today about this upcoming album and all the chaotic things Taylor is doing. Once again, if you aren't subscribed, you can do that down below. I'd love to have you join us and be part of future videos. Thank you again for hanging out with me. I love you all and I will see you next time. Bye!
Is this what it feels like?